Hello everyone. I just wanted to kind of focus a shift on my channel. So if you followed my channel, or if you haven't, if you looked, there's a lot of videos that were astrology related, some are yoga related, but in light of the pandemic, I thought I'd kind of shift the focus of the channel to a little bit more of addiction recovery thing because that's something that I went through a lot in my life. So I kind of made some notes here. So I'm not going to be going through and really re-editing this video that much. I'm making this so I can put it out there so I can at least kind of share my thoughts and feelings. And I'm coming to you from my back porch because I just had a 6-month-year-old. Well, 6 months ago I had her, or my wife had her, and she just discovered how to scream and blow raspberries and things like that. So I figured I'd be out here on a nice Scottsdale day and kind of focus on like how you can kind of help yourself at least get started on the recovery path. So these are going to be like very informal videos. I'm not going to really, and maybe as I go along, I'll put more editing into them. But I just really was more interested on getting the information out there. So first of all, when it comes to addiction, all of us have some kind of backstory. Um, Really, I don't know. I mean, from all my years of experience, and there's really always some sort of psychological pain or something like that that you're covering up that kind of gets you going down that road. So, really, what I found is the why isn't really as important as the fact that you really want to quit and the fact that you want to make a hard change in your life. Because um, I've been to AA and I've been to a lot of 12 step groups, and I've even worked for places that, like I did IT for a place that ran recovery centers, and I've seen so much. Like so much of the way they do things goes up against my experience of how I quit a lot of substances. Really, what I've noticed is that like for instance in AA. So let's take the 12-step recovery. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there's some things in there that I noticed that aren't particularly very helpful. Like for instance, quitting isn't always, or getting off of drugs really isn't an all or nothing thing. So for instance, you'll walk into an AA meeting or like maybe an NA meeting, and they're not going to say like, hey, you have to quit now. But really it's either you're here or you're there. Either you quit or you didn't quit. Too legit to quit. Anyway, but really that's kind of the attitude in there. So the reality that I found is, first of all, you could taper off of anything, right? I think a lot of people in 12 step programs fail because what they do is they quit cold turkey, and then what they do is they pivot to something else. So if you ever go into any 12 step meeting, um, especially AA, a lot of them are all smokers, a lot of them are drinking an insane amount of coffee. And that's only because they pivoted from one substance to another substance. So I think their relapse rate is so high is because they never actually deal with the chemical imbalance that's going on in their brain. So I just wanted to make a few notes here. First of all, quitting and tapering both make discipline. They're both essentially the same in the amount of effort that you have to put into it, but when it comes to tapering, you're kind of slowly building that effort over time. Whereas if you quit cold turkey off of anything, it's going to be like, whoa. It's really what I found is the effort to taper is really about the same as the effort to stay sober. There's really not that much difference in it. But when you're tapering, you're slowly building up that effort over time. So really, it's the principle of discipline breeds discipline. Let's see. So yeah, I also talked about the 12-step programs here. Really, people tend to like do like addiction whack-a-mole. So if you go and you quit alcohol, so all of a sudden people switch to sugar, they'll switch to caffeine, they'll switch to nicotine. And really, in the end, I found that it's kind of about the same. It's not really the same because a lot of those other drugs, you can actually function well in society. So you're better off doing that than just, continuing to drink and be a dysfunctional person. But really, you're not dealing with the problem. And the problem, what I think, is ultimately is a dopamine imbalance in the brain. And most drugs seem to affect the dopamine receptors. So if you're not really dealing with the underlying condition of the dopamine imbalance, you're not really you're not really helping yourself in the long run. And really, what I'm coming to tell you here is a lot of this is a long run battle. For me, it took about 7 years, really, of trying to get everything right, trying different things and all of that. And really, I think somebody can, if you're ready to do this for like a long term battle, um, really you got to be ready to put years into this stuff. It can take years because really, if you quit cold turkey, you go back, you quit cold turkey, and you go back, it's going to pretty much be the same amount of times trying to quit as if you kind of tapered and slowly built up your discipline over time. So, anyway, another thing that I wanted to say is that you can actually start your recovery while you're still using. So, what you can do is, first of all, what I do recommend is go get the Smart Recovery Handbook. It's about $6 on Amazon. It doesn't cost that much. That is probably the best resource that I found that has all of the most scientific and up-to-date literature. A lot of it's cognitive behavioral therapy. So you can use that as a resource to kind of help start you developing good habits, core values, and really it's not all or nothing, right? A lot of people think this like either I'm using or I'm not using. The programs are like that too. You read it over, you work through it, see what works for you, throw out what doesn't work. Because that's the thing, this is your recovery. So you need to be in charge of what you are doing, and you really got to stop caring about what other people think. I can't stress that point enough, man. Really, if you look at how people are, if you start going on a recovery process, everybody has an opinion of how you should do it. Everybody says do their program. Not everybody, but the social pressure there is really strong. Or for instance, if you're trying to quit alcohol, like I'm from Wisconsin, and that's like practically a sin. And it's like you have, from what I've seen there, you have two groups of people. You have the people that are drinking and going out to the bars and binge drinking, and then you have the people that are in AA. And they both, it's like an extreme, and there's really no balance to that. So what I'm trying to do is trying to kind of convey to you a nice, healthy way where you can slowly work out of this stuff and don't have a shock to the system. So the Smart Recovery Handbook is really good because it's got a lot of good tools in there that you can, a lot of good acronyms and cognitive behavioral therapy techniques that you can use to help you in your recovery. Another thing is kind of dovetailing into that is throw judgment out the window. Who cares what other people think? You have to be super selfish to the point of being a narcissist in this, because people are going to want stuff from you. People are going to have their own opinions. People are going to be mad at you for what you did. And the reality is, when you quit a substance, there's going to be a lot of emotional stuff that's going to come up. You're going to feel guilty. There's going to be regret. A lot of that, too, is a result of withdrawing from a lot of substances. A lot of withdrawal causes depression, guilt, especially like from alcohol, things like that, benzos or something else, too, that when you're covering up all these deep emotions, the chemical imbalance itself, the nature of it is to cause anxiety, to cause, depression, guilt, self-hate. All that stuff goes along with that, and that's not necessarily you as a person. That's your system rebalancing itself and trying to learn how to cope with emotions on a normal way. Once you get through all this stuff and you develop those coping skills, this is why I say get started on that now, even while you're using, because you can use those coping skills while you're going through the tapering process, because this stuff is going to slowly come up, man. It's like relearning how to walk. And also to take control of your own program, man. Don't be, and women, don't be scared to work it the way that you want to work it. Let's see. So another thing too is kind of related to that point is you need to be ready to do this on your own. Okay, this is ultimately a battle of you. And honestly, with this pandemic stuff going around right now, you can find groups that are online, but you're going to be in this by yourself for the long haul, regardless of what you think. Because somebody may support you, but then you may do something where they won't support you and things like that. So you really need to build your own self-discipline, your inner strength, really. We talk about being a strong person. This is going to make you the strongest person that you ever could realize. And when it comes down to it, you don't need other people's help to do this. You are absolutely capable of doing this on your own. And the thing is, though, when you quit cold turkey, you're overwhelmed by a lot of emotions and things like that. So then you think, well, I need other people and things like that. And that's kind of how the rehab industry works. And so the thing is, with things being out of the way now, at least when I'm making this, there's a pandemic. I don't know if those group homes are open, and even if they are, they're going to charge you like $1,000 a day if you don't have insurance for a bed to detox. So really the first step is, if you're on a substance, is to try to level yourself off on that substance and stop doing more. right? Because really, when you start tapering, you're going to want to work yourself off from a baseline. And that baseline is whatever you have of your substance of choice. You have to start actually getting it to a point where you're doing it on the same level every day. And the discipline is going to come through resisting the urge to do more, that you need more, that you constantly need more. And that's really what it comes down to with a lot of this stuff, is really not being able to, and there's more to it than that, but really what I've learned is the discipline to not do more is what's going to help you taper off this stuff. And like if you quit cold turkey, you're going to need to have the discipline to not do it at all. So it's kind of I don't know how to put it. It's kind of like a balancing act. So, you could quit cold turkey, and if you want to do that, the symptoms aren't going to last as long, but they're going to be way, way more intense. So maybe if you're at home and you want to do this and you want to face up to your drug of choice and you want to get through it, you can do that, but you've got to realize that there's going to be a lot of hurt and pain. If you have the ability to kind of maintain your level and then slowly work your way off of it, and this also depends on your access. I'm willing to bet that there's going to be a lot of people having to go cold turkey, and so I will actually address that too in later videos, and I'm going to try to make a video too that deals with each substance, and if I haven't done the substance, I'll try to do as much research as I can on each substance to kind of give people kind of a better idea. So let's see. Another thing too is I don't really care if addiction's a disease. Okay, that's kind of irrelevant to the point. I mean, you can kind of keep trying to get, if you like labels and you like to go around and label things, if that really makes you feel better, I really don't think it matters, because what you're ultimately trying to do here is you're trying to get yourself off of a substance, right? So whether it's a disease, whether it's a chemical imbalance, it really doesn't matter as much to me as the fact that you're trying to get off of something, that you're trying to really work on discipline and self-improvement, things like that. So another thing too that I want to bring up is really what helped me a lot was yoga and meditation. This really helped me separate who I actually was as a person from all the feelings and emotions and guilt and shame that I was going through at the time. So if you look at this channel, there's a lot of stuff I put on yoga or meditation, and that's okay. You can do it. You don't have to do it, but it's all there. I also have a lot of astrology videos if you're interested in watching that, but that's up to you. That's kind of goes back to when I was trying to be an edgy YouTube astrologer, and it didn't really work because I couldn't keep up with everybody. So I just kind of threw that out the window, but I don't know. If you're entertained by that stuff, go ahead and take a look. See, I don't do ads on my channel anyway, because I just want to give this information away for free. Let's see. Another thing too, I think I mentioned this earlier, is recovery isn't all or nothing. If you fail, that's okay. You need to just kind of treat it as a learning experience. And if you go through the Smart Recovery Handbook, you'll see this. It's really not that you're in or you're out. You're trying. You're always constantly trying to do better. You're always trying to develop new habits. You're trying to learn how to do this. It's a learning process, especially tapering. It's learning how to discipline yourself. It's learning how to be content with what you have while you slowly wean off and not go for more, knowing that you're working at it. It's not easy. I mean, a lot of people really, when they're addicts, it's consumption. It's really the urge to want to do more so they don't have to deal with the hard stuff. So I'm not gonna lie, this is really hard, man. I've been basically at this for 7 years, 5 to 7 years of nothing but constant tapering and stuff like that. But honestly, I feel so much better. I mean, I was on all these medications and things like that, which were a result of the drugs that I was doing. So you go to see a doctor, and a doctor puts you on meds when you're, in fact, what you're doing is really causing your system to react to the stuff you're doing. So really the ultimate answer is to get off all this stuff so you can live a healthy life. This is great. I started working out. I lost like 90 pounds. I really got a lot of my stuff together, and a lot of stuff improved in my life, but it was a hard thing to do because I just couldn't quit work and take off a month to put everything on hold. I got a family, I need money, and that's why this method is so great. Now let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Also too, yeah, I think I already went into this. It's why you're an addict, really it doesn't matter as much as the fact that you're trying to do something about it. Okay, so you can deal with that later, and or at least when you're tapering, you kind of slowly learn how to do this stuff when you're tapering, when all the emotions come up and things like that. So it's really something where you have to where you don't have to, but you learn. You have to learn that too. You have to learn how to deal with your emotions, and like I said, that's why this is a learning process. So, all right, well, that's all I really have for now. But I'm going to try to make more videos. Or actually, I am going to make more videos, and they're all going to be rough like this, one take. I'm going to put the information out there. If you have anything to add, put it down below. Just remember, haters are going to hate, so don't really put too much stock in other people's judgment when you try to take your own recovery into your own hands. That's really what I want to stress is this is about you. This is not about anybody else. This is not about other people's opinions. This is not about running from the herd or running with the herd. This is not about trying to fit in. Because I'm telling you, man, the social pressure to fit in, conform, and all that stuff is going to be there. And you'll learn slowly out over time, kind of how to work through that. And I'll actually make some videos too about dealing with social pressure, social shaming techniques, and how you can really work to strengthen yourself in times like this when they're extremely difficult and people are really going to be taking advantage of you. So, all right, I'm going to upload this, and if you have any comments, let me know. And if you want to contact me for any reason, my email address is nobsyoga@gmail.com. Have a good day.